Good evening, everybody, and guess what? We're back. So Ashley and I have taken a break for the summer, and now we're back. And tonight's going to be a fun one. We're going to go to the moon and back. How does that sound? Um, so anyway, for everybody out there, I hope you had a great summer. We've missed all of you. I've gotten the messages about where you guys are at, what are you doing, and I appreciate you checking in on us immensely. But yeah, we just kind of took the summer off and decided to spend the time doing the things that we family things and whatnot. So, but yeah, hey, we're back, and there's a lot of things happening that we'll get into later. But Ashley's with me tonight. We got a special guest that we'll introduce here in just a moment. But first, let's bring on Ashley and chat with her for a second.
Hey guys, it's been way too long, Lee.
I know. How have you been?
Good. How about you?
Uh, it has been a busy summer. I've had a lot to do. I know you guys have had a lot going on, but it's also been
Mhm.
an exciting summer. A lot of things happening. Hang on a second. Just make sure. Okay, I want to make sure I sent out the push notification on the on our app so that everybody knew that we were going live.
We're back.
Yeah. Ooh,
Yeah.
scary. Yeah.
Say, I've had a lot of people ask me, what's going on with the show? Are you guys still doing it? I'm like, we just needed a break. We needed a little
Yeah.
bit of
It was
time to
time.
recoup.
Yeah, and really, it would have been so much that if it wasn't just for all the things that were happening. I mean, we just,
Hmm.
I know you guys had a lot with the kids and one thing or another, but man,
Right.
I had projects and building this new company and all
The
that.
trailer.
Yes, the trailer, working on it, which I haven't got very far on because who knew that some of the things that I wanted to do took a long time to actually get here. So anyway.
Shocker. Didn't see that one coming at all, Lee.
Yeah, I think when you put the word hemp and insulation together, it is impossible to get that in a timely fashion. So
Mhm.
that's all right. It's gonna happen. There's some other things happening, and right now, Lee's I've been truck shopping.
Did you decide what you're going to do?
I don't know, not yet, but I'm looking for a new truck. But anyway,
You're
um,
always looking for a new vehicle, but you've been saying that for a while.
yeah, I have. I love my Nissan. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, I need a bigger one because, to be honest, I'm probably gonna go to a much bigger trailer soon. Anyway, um, how's Jeff and the kids?
They're good. Gavin's still learning how to drive,
Yeah,
which is scary.
is he
Um,
is he still a little ass?
always.
No,
Like,
always.
I mean, he is my son. He is my child. So
Yeah, well,
yeah.
there is that.
But yeah.
That's funny. So, hey, so tonight as we kick it back off with
Hmm.
the show. I thought we might take a trip to the moon and back. What do you think?
I'm excited. The moon's amazing,
Yeah,
and this person's even better.
yeah. I had I had a conversation with this guy, and it was interesting to hear his backstory about
Hmm.
his how he got started and how things evolved. But it's also interesting to hear, and what most people probably won't know, but they'll pick up throughout this, is that he is a passionate storyteller slash film um, maker, creator. And I saw some of his work. He sent me some of his work, and I got to say, it was pretty impressive. So,
So we
anyway,
need to take advice from him, is what you're saying.
well, I mean, I could take all the advice he'll give me, but that doesn't mean I'm going to apply it because I stink at content creation. This is just not my gig. However, I'm willing to pay somebody to do it for me. There is
Okay,
that.
well then he can give Jeff all that advice because Jeff wants to go down that road.
Well, you know what? I could see Jeff doing something like that. I could. I
Yeah,
could. So anyway, how about we drag this guy in
I
and
think we should.
we'll try to be nice and we won't give him too hard of a time and all that. So hey everybody, let's take a trip to the moon with Henry. Welcome
Here
aboard.
we are, guys.
How you
Here we
doing?
are. I'm doing great. I am a little worried. I feel like the expectations are pretty high. I don't know if I'm better than the moon, but
Well, I mean, I
I'm
just
gonna
found
do
out
my
a lot
best.
about you.
Me too. Me too. But yeah, really happy to be here, and it was fun. Lee connecting at More Expo, and have been looking forward to this ever since.
Well, I'm gonna move us all around a little bit here and get the screen set up a little bit better. So you guys, so tell us a little bit about tell us a little bit about
your story.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about.
Well, yeah, just to, I guess, land the plane for anyone who's wondering what all this moon talk is about. My name's Henry. I'm one of the co-founders of Moon Fabrications.
Right.
And we make an awning called the Moonshade. And I think people in this world, overlanding world, may have heard of us, but it's been, as Lee has alluded to, kind of a crazy ride. But for Moon in particular, my buddy Matthew, who I met working at a nonprofit that drilled clean water wells in Houston, he came to me in 2018. He called me. He had worked in tech, and he had kind of done the rat race, had kind of achieved all that he had ever thought of, and just didn't find a lot of meaning in it. So he quit his job, and like a lot of Californians, grew out his hair, bought a van, and decided he was going to do the van life. And a few months into converting his van, he just realized that he just hated all of the vehicle awning options that existed. And so he called me. The reason he called me, as Lee alluded to, I am I'm a documentary filmmaker that's now a vehicle awning salesman. But if anyone is thinking about getting into documentary filmmaking, I hope you have like a rich uncle. It's not very lucrative. And so to make money, I've always done different freelance gigs, a lot of branded content, and stuff like that. But I had a background in grassroots marketing, and so I started doing that for companies, and that found my way into kind of outdoor retail. And then I was working with Tax Outdoors when Matthew had called me, and I just heard the word overland, and he kind of explained that he had made this, kind of better designed awning. Like, it was modular, it was lightweight, and it like performed better than most awnings in kind of most weather conditions. And so I felt the moment I heard about the Moonshade, when Matthew kind of explained it to me, that where we are today, probably 6 years later, it still feels nuts, but we always kind of imagined what was happening for us now could be happening. And I think, major kudos to my buddy Matthew. I mean, he created a really cool thing for himself, and other people have loved it. And that's how I'm here, man. That's why the documentary filmmaker now sells vehicle awnings.
So he calls you up and says, I got this idea, I'm going to create this product. And you instantly were like, sold. And so now who's in charge of the company? Who's in charge of everything? Is that you, or is that him, or is that a combination?
Yeah.
How does it work?
Yeah. Good question. So we did. I realize I'm remembering that we have talked about a lot of this, and so I'm like, good question, Lee. Yeah. So Matthew, he had like created a little nest egg for himself. Nothing crazy. He wasn't like living on a yacht, but enough to where he could kind of start a company in a way where it could kind of be everything that he wanted. And
Right.
So when he called me, I was running a marketing agency at the time that I had started in Austin. And so he hired my agency to kind of help him essentially develop the company, like figure out how to produce the product, create the whole, I mean, everything that wasn't the awning essentially. And so like any freelancer, you know, I quoted him a retainer and he put me on it. And that was how our relationship worked for, you know, the first kind of year and a half, 2 years of Moon. And the plan from when we started just sort of tinkering with the product and finding a quality way to manufacture it, we decided that the plan was we're going to launch a Kickstarter at the end of 2019, and then we'll launch the website April 2020. And 2019 was a pretty crazy year in my life. I essentially ended my marketing agency in February of that year and was like in a pretty sort of dire place. It was like my first, you know, when you're an entrepreneur, everyone tells you that, like, you know, most entrepreneurs fail 3 times before they're successful or whatever.
Right.
I never believed that. I was always like, I'm the exception. And, you know, this agency that I ran, I think the work we did was really valuable, but like the economic model of the business just wasn't there. And so
Moon was the answer.
well, there's a couple steps in between, but you know, essentially, a couple months go by, I retained Matthew and one other client. Essentially, had me personally on retainer, and then and that was the plan. It was just to kind of keep doing that, and then a couple months go by. August of 2019, I got a call from LeBron James production company asking if I wanted to direct a doc series about Penny Hardaway, coaching at his alma mater, the University of Memphis, which is, like, you know, like I said, documentary filmmaker, lifelong dream to get to do a sports doc series. And so I said yes. I called Matthew, and so at this point we're a couple months away from the Kickstarter, and I was like, hey man, like, you got to take me off retainer. You know, at this point, the initial money Matthew had put into Moon was kind of dwindling. And I was like, take me off retainer. I will still help you launch the Kickstarter, but working on a follow doc, sports doc series for 6 months is like, you know, it's 100 hours, 100. It's a dream. It's also like all your time, essentially.
Right.
And so I just like couldn't justify him paying me, but kind of in between was helping the team that we had assembled kind of get the Kickstarter going. And so I told him I couldn't take a retainer. And then a week later, he sent me a letter and he called me and he explained that he had been really sad for a week and he had realized that he had been treating me as a co-founder the entire time. Like, in his head, I was a co-founder. And so he said if I wanted to come back after this doc series was over and run Moon, he gave me 50% ownership on the spot. And so that's how I became a co-founder in Moon. And yeah, I think a lot of Matthew's, like, Matthew is one of my best friends, like, someone that I've known forever. We've been through a lot together. You know, for him, he has a PhD in behavioral economics, and he's like a sought after data researcher in Silicon Valley. And his last job, the job he left, was at Robinhood. And the thing that he felt like wasn't aligned with his life is that he was always doing all this work to help other people who were creating. And he had grown up watching his dad kind of grind it out, making veneers, this guy who was like this amazing craftsman. And he always dreamt for his dad that his dad would become a successful inventor. Right. And so making the Moonshade came from this like really personal place of not just wanting to solve the fact that, you know, if you're in your van without an awning, it can get hot as shit, but also that, like, this is really something that meant more to him than just like a company idea. And that's what today, you know, with the different things that are happening with Moon, the thing that still feels really sacred is that we have kind of been birthed from this place of really open-handedness and generosity. And I think that in turn, when Matthew kind of made a documentary filmmaker his business partner, we made a lot of bad financial decisions. That was one part. But the other part of that is like so much of what Moon is and like what people know about Moon as a brand is because like we just reflected back like what this world is, you know, like that's the cool thing about being an awning on any vehicle is like we connect with all of these different people on the road. And so that's a longer answer than maybe you were expecting, but I figured I'd give you more fodder and maybe fill in some of the gaps for where else I think you would be going.
It's all great information. Al,
It is. It's interesting and fascinating all at the same time.
Oh yeah. With regards to the Kickstarter, that was the OG that I have, correct?
Yep.
How long did it take you once you did the Kickstarter to realize that, you know, what was the next step after the Kickstarter? So how did the Kickstarter go? And then what was the next step?
Yeah. So the Kickstarter was fine. I mean, and this was kind of a tried and true practice in outdoor retail, you know, so
Right.
like that's the world that I come from. But essentially there's all these companies that started in kind of the 2010s and all these DTC companies. And the way that they would launch product is they would do a Kickstarter, but they would already be committed to producing the product beyond that. And some of that is just like minimum order quantities and the way that manufacturing works. So
Right.
we knew with the Kickstarter that the goal was always to launch the website, start selling online in April 2020. And so the Kickstarter, I think our goal is 25,000 and we beat it just barely. I think it was like 30K. But the thing with the thing that was like the lasting impact of the Kickstarter is one of the practical problems I had with the Moonshade from the jump, and this is still, I mean, like, this is still kind of what we are still up against. Just vehicle awnings have been the same way for so long, you know? And so how do you explain to people like how this, you know, awning that's really rugged but packs down to like the size of a camping chair, but the bag's actually really big, so it's not a pain in the ass to pack. Like, how do you explain all these intricacies of how this awning works? And my answer was like YouTube. Yeah, exactly. And so,
Right.
yeah, I love YouTube. I've loved YouTube for a long time. I think if I were 5 years younger, I'd be a YouTuber. But yeah, there are all these people living in vans on YouTube, and we had connected with a couple of them at an event called Open Roads Fest in 2019. And yeah, just it ended up being kind of who now are all the OG van lifers, Trent Nally, Eamon and Beck, Mr. and Mrs. Adventure, the Matneys. And so that's how we did the Kickstarter. And then that was the YouTube effect, was that like we realized, and obviously April 2020 was a good time to launch a vehicle awning, but you know, I think we did 30K in our first 2 weeks being online once we got to April. Jeez. And I think that was like an effect of definitely the timing, but I think also the way people consider products and think about products. And I mean, Lee, you mentioned at the show that you went to over the weekend, like people see things online, but they want to see them in person, you know, before they buy them. They're, you know, so like we all have our, you know, different ways of organizing the gear that we want to get. And so I think that's also just, you know, I think some people do buy a vehicle awning, you know, in a whim, but I think most consider it for a while.
All right. Ashley, what do you say we hit a few of these comments? We'll throw them up on the screen.
There's been a couple over here that made me laugh. So
yeah, we'll throw these up on the screen real quick and let Henry. So Henry, here's one. Did the Penny Hardaway documentary happen?
Yeah, it happened. It's called The Harder Way, and it's on ESPN Plus.
All right.
Awesome.
Michael Gonzalez said he's missed his favorite duo. Yeah.
He misses me more. It's okay.
Whatever. Christopher Holloway says, "Yo, Henry is the man."
See?
Christopher Holloway is the real deal, man.
Yeah, he
is amazing.
He is an excellent human being. And he's a heck of a mixologist for drinks.
I'm about to take your word on that one. He's gonna have to make me something next time I see him.
Michael says my hair is officially longer than Ashley's.
I think it might be.
I don't know. Let's see. It's mine's down to right there.
Yeah, I think you're longer than I am.
Donald says your moonshade is a really cool concept. I would agree. Not only a concept, but it actually functions very, very well. So anyway, then there's a couple of them about van stuff. But so you did the OG. How many different variations did you have to go through before it got to where it is now? I'm not talking about the bigger XL or whatever, but just how many
man. I mean, all we did in 2018, like the first 2 years of Moon were all product development. And so a ton of iterations. I mean, the original size, like the 7x9, that came from one of Matthew's early prototypes. So it was because it started with, and this is easy to understand if you have a moonshade, but the concept started with the strength of the shade being in the awning itself.
Right.
And so that's it's not the attachment point to the vehicle and that you have a metal box on the side of your vehicle. It's like there's tension that's created in the awning. It's really heavy duty, 420 ripstop fabric. And so it started with that. And then there were just little iterations. So there's, the underside is reflective coated. There's little tabs, the bag being bigger. That just happened over time. And so once we launched the OG, after our very initial production run, the only significant change that we've made to the shade outside of reinforcing corners and just building it a little better is the support pulls that it comes with have these little triangle hooks that kind of clip into the carabiner and hold the pull in place. And we always recommend that you guy line it, but if there's no wind, those pulls are in place, you'll be all right. But definitely use guy lines. Don't hit our customer support. But
I got a funny
about
that.
But that I'm nervous. I mean that's
it is.
But yeah, so that original it's been pretty pretty much it, but there was a ton of thought and energy put in at the very early part of it.
All right, so let me give you a perspective.
I'm scared.
For everybody listening. So
here we go.
Right.
The new trailer, we wanted to let the cargo door down in the back, and we put jack stands underneath it to turn it into a stage. So, but I wanted something to cover that area, at least from while you're standing there doing an interview or whatever you're doing. And I told Henry and I were talking, and I said, well, how wide is it? And it was perfect, like the perfect width. So Henry sent me one, and it was a lot smaller in the package, the bag, than I thought it was going to be, quite honestly. So it packs down. The whole thing's not even hardly that big around. It's just,
it's like a camping chair.
Yeah. So I get to the event. I go to set this thing up. I didn't watch a video. I didn't read the instructions because that's the way it rolls. I don't. And so It took me a couple of minutes, and boom, 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 I had it all together. Note there are 2 suction cups in this thing, and they work really well, providing that the surface that you apply these suction cups to is clean. I put these things up there, and a couple minutes later, whoosh, there they go. And I was like, son of a bitch. Anyway, I wiped them down with a cloth and cleaned them, and they were there for the next 3 days. Didn't move.
Did I not? Was that the vacuum mounted ones, or was that like the? Okay, all right.
Yeah, the
Just
vacuum,
sure.
the little, like the sea
The
sucker
pumping.
style.
Yeah. So yeah.
And so, perfect. Get the whole thing up. Again, I didn't read the instructions, and I put the little guide wires on, not reading the instructions, so it was incorrect.
I like how he reiterates that you didn't read the instructions 3 times.
I
I want to be clear that it wasn't the Moonshade, it was Lee. Anyway, gust of wind comes up and it flies. Like, I'm like, damn. And I realized that I'm like, okay, I probably should have read the directions. So I pulled out and I started looking. I was like, oh, so that's how you do that. Anyway, long story short, it absolutely worked perfect. You sent these little D-ring style deals. I put them on the door. Here's the change that I made. I went over across the way because I'm a huge fan of them and I love them because they're quick and easy. And I bought some more roller cams and paracord. I made my own with the ratchet with those little roller cams.
Yeah. And that's like
nothing wrong with what's in there worked fine.
Yeah, sure.
But I had this thing about
Well,
I had things a thing about trying to have all the same stuff work so that anyway, and put those on there. Dude, I absolutely love that thing. I had people coming by looking at it. I had several people ask if I had any for sale, and I just sent them to the website and said, "Here you go get them." But
I love that the top is domed.
That's what I was saying.
So I love that. Mm-hmm.
And the underside got that coating. And so it was truly amazing to stand underneath it. And I'm not just saying it, but I'm serious. You stood underneath it and you could tell the difference in standing there and then stepping out into the sun and then going back underneath it. It really did make a difference. And the dome is pretty nice. It really is.
With the XL, it's even like I never really thought about the dome because I never used a pull-out awning on like a Jeep or an SUV. You know what I mean? Like I've never you don't think about the dome effect being helpful, but on the XL, there is something about it being domed that is really rad.
Well,
Chris,
so sorry, let's talk about the dome. My husband's 6'3". I'm only 5'1", so I never have to worry about the height issue. But him pulling shut up. Him pulling an awning out on a vehicle, he constantly has to duck and things like that. So the dome is a big thing for us that we really like about it.
Cool.
Yeah. Ashley never has to worry about the whole height thing. I mean, she wins the how low can you go contest and all that kind of stuff.
You're just jealous that you're not that flexible.
There's things my body would break. Chris Beers has a question. It says, how does the Moon Fab hold up against severe weather? I'm going to answer one thing. During this event, we had what do they call those little like a dust nados, little
dust devils?
Yeah, you know how they come flying through and they're real quick. Mm-hmm. It did fine. It did fine. I never had to do anything to it. It blew, it swelled, it moved, it did, but it never.
I mean, like that. I went to Overland Expo West last summer. I made a little vlog about it. It's my ode to YouTubers. It's on Moon's channel. It's called "What Is Overlanding."
It's kind of funny.
People want to check it out. It's more Henry than you need, but it rained on the first day of Expo, and it was just really satisfying when all the Batwing people are having to like move in their awning because it's pooling, But if it's a big nomad van thing to go to Baja during like December, January, February, and I think we're one of the only awnings that's up in Baja, and I think inarguably the moon shade like performs better in wind than any other awning if it's skylines. That's a big thing. But
And don't
like,
let Lee set your guidelines up, apparently.
yeah, or get roller cams.
Well, no, here's the deal. In all fairness, again, I said I didn't read the instructions because, I'm that guy that just says, oh, how hard can this be? And it really isn't hard. It's just there is a certain way that, you guys recommend that you attach those guy wires. I didn't do it that way because I didn't read the instructions. So it was my fault. It wasn't anybody else's. I mean, that was on
I've
me.
talked to the roller cam guys. We sell like a similar like accessory on our website, and as we're thinking about how we can evolve and improve the shade, these are definitely like the roller cams or something that we're thinking about, as well as additional walls, additional attachments, fully enclosed rooms and such. That's all the stuff we're exploring right now.
Yeah. The if you haven't seen pictures on your website, you got a lot of good content, a lot of good pictures. It worked great for this application for what I was doing. But when you look at these guys who are like truck campers or people who camp out of the back of their 4Runners and things like that, I think it's even better. I honestly, I think it's even better because
it's cool. I mean, like one of the gifts of Running Moon and the fact that we go on all these different vehicle awnings is like you see when a vehicle community, because so much of this on the road world, like you organize around vehicle type in a Facebook group. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you could be a overlander or a van lifer. You can be a hunter or a rock climber, whatever, however you want to chalk it up. Like you're probably in a forum for whatever vehicle you drive. And we see that, like we'll see, like Airstream Base Camp was the first one where like they seem to universally not love the awning that came on the base camp, and it just like took off like wildfire. But it's cool to see because that's what's so cool about it. That it being modular can be a pain in my ass in terms of how you market something online, because everyone's competing for attention and there's all these little features of the shade that aren't you don't immediately get unless you see it in person. But the modularity is cool because like people can kind of make it whatever you want. You can throw it off the back. It's like every day I feel like we're sort of surprised by a new way that someone's using a moonshade.
So give us the dimensions of the OG, and then give us the dimensions of the XL for those listening. Because here's the thing: the OG is perfect for your 4Runners,
right?
Your truck campers, that kind of stuff. If you have a little mod cap or something on the back, but so give us those dimensions.
Yeah. So the OG is 7 by 9 feet, and I think that like the size of that is sort of as big as we could make it and have it be really easily able to set up with one person. We have a lot of people on the road are retirees and older. And so like we wanted it to make it really easy to set up. And so OG 7 by 9, and then the XL is 9 by 12. And so like it's still easy to set up, but definitely need to, like, people have done it without 2 people, but it's like the difference between setting up a 4-person tent and like a 12-person tent. Just nice to have an extra pair of hands.
Excellent. Yeah. And then you got a ton of little, like your accessories, your anchors, and the walls. You have a long and a short wall. What else you got here?
Yeah, the walls. I mean, what's been cool, so we to date have been 90% direct to consumer, and the majority of our sales are organic. And And so one of the cool things on our website right now, and we're about to evolve the whole website to this, is I think it's under stories or community, but we have this Moon Vehicle Experts thing.
Community
Where
vehicle.
so that's what we're really trying to build towards, a way where when you go to moonfab.com, you can type in whatever vehicle you have, and it may not be the exact like model or model year, but you know, we're hoping that like that's what Moonfab becomes, is just sort of this database of different people with different setups, and and we partner with them to kind of make that happen. And so we're pretty excited for kind of where that's going. And then yeah, we're all about modularity and you know, allowing people, like, people can kind of use it however they want. And like I said, in terms of kind of our product development and where we're going, we only want to increase that. But yeah, the walls, which have been a hit for sure. I mean, that people start, I mean, I think within a month of Moon having a website, people started asking for walls. And so much of our product innovation has come from just people asking us, because, you know, we're connected to 20,000 people that we've sold awnings to.
Right.
Yeah. Chris wants to know how many inches of snow will it hold on top while using. I'm sure you've had somebody that's experienced this.
Yeah, I have. I mean, like, so I live in Memphis, and there was a snowstorm, so I put it out, and it probably had like
that's cocaine. That's not snow. That's cocaine.
It was one or the other, but it was probably 4 to 6 inches. I just had someone hit us up on IG. It may have been Chris, but they were like, "How?" I was like, "Well, I'll send you. How about I send you one and you tell me?" But again, I think that like the dome shape, I think that, you know, if you have a propane heater, like the underside of the shade is reflective coated, so it like reflects back heat. But if you're creating some heat source under the shade, I would think that like the snow might melt. I don't know how that would work, but the fabric is like, it's smooth, I guess is the best way to say it. So it's like snow will slide off, but it obviously would eventually accumulate. But I'm curious to know how much snow the Moonshade would hold. So if someone wants to be a tester, let me know how much snow you're going to be in, and shoot us a DM on Instagram.
That's awesome.
Excellent. I like the walls. I'm sitting here looking at the walls and how they angle out and away and not just straight down.
Well, it gives you more room too,
exactly.
especially if you close it off when you're talking about the heater. There's a lot of times where we camp and it's cold, it's rainy. We use a little propane fire pit, so being able to move that inside an enclosed space and have that heat radiate off the top of the awning would be huge.
Again, I don't think I'm not recommending fires underneath the moon. I'm like, be cautious with me.
Right. Common sense first before you do anything.
Common sense first, please.
Yes.
And then of course attachments. I mean, good Lord, you've got Sprinter rail attachments that go right into the Sprinter rails. You got, wow, all kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that came from people asking, you know, and I think that and we're thinking more deeply about kind of our anchor system and how we do it. And I think that we've learned a lot about how people use the shade and are trying to like improve upon that as we look forward. But yeah, that's the Moonshade has essentially it has a carabiner in every corner underneath, like a little corner carabiner. And all you need to set the shade up to something is, you know, a little 1/2-inch eyelet essentially that you can clip into, or, you know, a gear tie on a roof rack. That's the benefit of the shade itself, like having the strength, is that it gives you a lot of different ways to attach it.
You definitely, I think, I'm sure there's probably a few other ways, but in my eyes, I'm looking at this thinking, I think you've got it covered.
I think we
Great.
could I think we could. Definitely, our accessories are kind of like the kitchen sink right now, and I think part of what we're hoping with Moon Vehicle Experts is a way to show. That's kind of the thing that we're always battling with, just like as a company that sells online, is like you kind of have to make your ad, there, like you have to make your content very like easily digestible, and like but one of the coolest things about the Moonshade is that it's really customizable, and like the way that you can however you want to make space with your vehicle wherever you are, whether you're at a camping site, at a RV park, or you're like way off grid,
Right.
like we wanted to kind of create whatever people want. And so that's what we're hoping with Moon Vehicle Experts, is that it kind of helps catalyze more of that customization, because you could see someone's rig with a Moonshade that's rad, and then get inspired by that and build on top of it. You could,
Yeah.
and so that's where it's all going for us.
All right. So what's the future of the Moonshade or Moon Fab in general? What you got anything you want to let out of the bag? Like, is there little
Little teasers.
little nuggets?
Well, I would say the big thing, if anyone is close to New Mexico in the next couple of weeks, we actually throw a big ass party in the middle of nowhere on 700 acres in Rama, New Mexico. And so it's called moonlandinggathering.com. That's not what it's called, Moon Landing, but the website is moonlandinggathering.com. So I'm not going to be there this year. Moon Landing has been a wild ride, including the first year where we had to buy $15,000 worth of gravel, like to make a 100-foot road, because it had washed out at the bottom, like the day before the event. But Moon Landing is rad. I should know the exact dates, but it's like mid-October, October 11th, I want to say, is when it starts. And then for Moon as a company, man, I don't know what all is happening. I'm just happy to be here. I think for a lot of people in this world, it's hard to innovate in kind of the overland on the road space right now. It's a tough last couple. I think COVID just gave a lot of people whiplash in terms of like just companies getting ahead of themselves. That was certainly true for us, and so we're just happy to be here. That being said, we have I think another fun conversation like this will come out tomorrow in RV Business, which is a trade magazine for the RV industry, and that's just because we've been spending a lot of time in Elkhart, Indiana, and that's I do think a lot of the future for Moon is not just selling to customers direct, but working directly with RV manufacturers and actually coming standard on certain units.
There you go. Excellent.
So talking about RVs though, like I definitely want to see about ordering one of these to try off the back of the Cricket, and eventually make it an extended room for our kids. With knowing Taxa, exactly what I'm dealing with.
For sure.
But yeah, I think it'd be a lot of fun. And then you were talking about your event in New Mexico. My mother-in-law has a summer home right outside of Rama. Or Rama.
That's awesome.
So my husband's already texting going, guess we're going to go visit my mom.
Well, I got to tell you, Amanda, who's the owner of the property, I actually just want to look this up really fast. So I just like get this out in the world because Amanda's amazing. But I think it's called Skyview Adventure Park. But yeah, like a very random phone call for Moon turned into us talking for like an hour and a half, and then a month later I was camping on her land that she had just bought out in the middle of nowhere. And
it is very much out in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico.
Oh yeah, it's dark sky country. Matthew will be there. He's told me that he was talking to the FAA about lasers and fireworks, but I have no idea if that's going to happen. But moon landing is it's a really cool expression of the part of the world that we come from, which is definitely the nomad world. All are welcome. Right. But yeah, it's a good time out there, and nothing better than being around a campfire with friends, you know?
Exactly.
Dude, that's awesome. Okay, I gotta look. I'll have to look. I got the website there. I just gotta click on it and I'll have to read through it. I would love to go, but I'm not gonna be around. I'm gonna be going east. So
I gotta check the dates and see if that's gonna be a possibility. But my husband's already
you guys don't even get out and camp anymore. I mean, you're a bunch of losers anyway.
We need Overland Radio wrapped at moon landing. I think we gotta make it happen.
I will work on it. My problem is fall break for the kids.
Yeah.
Fall break is October 17th for the kids, but Gavin has to have his wisdom teeth removed that day too. So
poor Gavin.
Leave him at home. Who cares?
Oh no, I gotta get the videos of him coming out of anesthesia to post for everyone to see.
Man, Henry, you have had one wild adventure and one wild ride getting to where you're at, and I'm grateful that you shared it with us. And I know you have a lot more, so obviously we probably should do this again at some point in time. Perhaps around a campfire.
Anytime.
Would be fun.
I see what you're doing. I have Starlink. I mean, I could take the Starlink and take it out there and do a show live.
You ended up buying Starlink?
Yeah.
I thought you were a cheap ass for to buy it.
No, I bought Starlink for the Big Ben trip. That's how I did it live there.
Oh, that's right. You did. No,
man, I love Big Ben. Yeah, man. I'm hoping to spend a lot more time on the road in the next year or two. I'm getting married next year.
Congratulations.
And I'm pretty stoked for that. And so we're kind of that's our life. I became a Tennessee master gardener this year, so I do a lot of gardening. So I've been enjoying being kind of home based, but I'm ready to be on the road more, and can't wait till we're all hanging out around a campfire. That'll be nice.
Heck yeah. Yes. Well, I appreciate you joining us and hanging out with us, sharing your stories, sharing everything about Moonfab and the Mood Shade. I enjoyed it. I mean, it was wholeheartedly and genuinely, it came in extremely helpful to me this past weekend. Otherwise, I'm not really sure that it was just hot enough that
I like that it was helpful, but you also talked about how just caught in the wind like a sail. I thought
not to do it.
I will say for anyone curious of how to set up the moonshade, we have some really great YouTube tutorials. Yep. So don't be like Lee.
Exactly.
And watch the instructions. And I will say the hardest part about owning a moonshade is the first time you set it up. You got to figure it out. It's going to take you a second, but after that, that's the reason I'm here, man.
I don't know.
Henry, you just need to make a shirt that says "Don't be a Lee" on it. Just saying.
We're putting those out next week.
Yeah, love it.
I gotta say, I think that getting it out of the bag and setting it up was extremely easy. I struggled more with the guide wires, and that's where I messed up.
It's pretty intuitive. It's like how you kind of have to think about how you want to set it up. That's the thing.
Yeah, for me, it was like I looked at it and I was like, okay, well, there's four corners and there's two of these, poles. I put it together, crisscross applesauce, and we were in business up until the wind blew.
And that's how you do it. Crisscross applesauce, moonshades up, baby.
Yeah. But the thing is, even when the wind blew, it stayed. It just, it did come up a little bit because I didn't have it attached right. However, after
don't be like Lee. Don't be like Lee. Even Crystal said in the hashtag, don't be like Lee.
Well, listen, Lee, I do want to send you an XL. I would love for the trailer just to be kitted out in shades, but I will say this makes me all this wind talk makes me nervous.
Don't be nervous. If
It
you
is
knew,
pretty windy.
listen, if you knew me as long as a lot of everybody else knows me,
Ooh, honey.
yeah, this is normal.
It is. It's
Yeah,
normal.
Listen,
I get that.
You need a responsible person to give you true opinions, not that one.
I think that's why you're responsible one, Ashley. That's why you're
no,
here, right?
she's not. She's probably more irresponsible than anybody.
You are so full of it, Lee. Ask everyone listening right now who's the responsible one out of the two.
Everybody listening, go get yourself a moonshade. If you've had any thoughts about one, seen it and said, hey, that's pretty cool, just go get it. I don't know what your application is, but I think the OG is the perfect place to start, unless you're trying to cover the whole side of a van. If you're doing the van life, then the XL might be a better fit, but go grab you one off of moonfab.com because and I just think they're great.
I'm going to
Thanks,
have
bro.
to get one for the back of the Cricket and then let you know how it works out.
And as Crystal says, hashtag don't be like Lee.
If I can, I'll come on every week if we can get that hashtag going.
Oh, I bet we could.
We used to have stickers. Literally, we had stickers that floated around for a while. It was hashtag it's all Lee's fault. And I mean, they were on rigs, they were on people's vehicles. And yeah, so it's no big deal. I'll own it. I'm not afraid. Everybody out there, make sure you go check out moonfab.com. And also, you guys are on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and it's all Moonfab or Moonshade. What is it?
Yeah, it's all Moonfab or Moonshade. You'll figure it out. People will figure it out. They're smart.
Go grab it, and then while you're
Except
at it,
for Lee.
yeah, and then while you're at it, go into the App Store and grab our Overland Radio app, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, Ashley. Thanks,
You're
Henry.
welcome.
Man, thanks for having me, y'all. This was a blast.
See you next week.